Hi, my name is David, and I'm going to talk about a subject I never talked about on YouTube or Facebook before. That subject has to do with psychedelic substances. It's something that I've been interested in for a very long time and I've explored for many years. And I don't talk about it partly because these days it would probably, the video would get banned on YouTube, might get banned on YouTube. And another reason I don't talk about it is that I got to be careful about what I say to who. I don't know that psychedelics are for everyone. I don't know that it's the be all end all that'll solve everyone's problems, but I think it can help a lot of people. And I'm going to talk about an experience I had with a substance called MDA. And I'm going to talk about some insights I've had that have to do with this so-called pandemic. You know, the situation people are experiencing in the last few months where people are being forced to wear masks and social distance and deal with ridiculous riots. And so, anyway, MDA sounds similar to MDMA, and it is similar. And so MDMA, otherwise known as ecstasy, is a drug that became popular in the 1980s. It was synthesized by this chemist, Alexander Shulgin. And people would experience a sense of heart opening where they can communicate to other people better, and they would, experience what it's like to not be plagued by trauma all the time. And just as important as being able to communicate to other people, and it's been used in therapy a lot, it's also great, has helped people understand, what do I really think about things? In other words, communicate with yourself. What is really true for me? And the substance MDA, which is similar, does something similar. It's not as euphoric. It's not as as much of a heart opener as MDMA, but I found it to be very clearing for the mind, and for me to say, what do I really think about things? And I took it a few weeks ago, hopefully to get insight on this situation, and hopefully maybe insight about if there's anything I can do about it. And I think there might be, and you can judge for yourself. And so anyway, so I take this MDA, and shortly after it starts to kick in, I began to realize something that's very simple. Sometimes you can like something but feel like you're not supposed to like it. Or the opposite, you could not like something that you're supposed to like. Society has an influence on what you think you like and don't like. Anyway, for example, I consider myself a peaceful guy, but I happen to like watching mixed martial arts fights. But anyway, so what I realized that I never really acknowledged to myself, was that I like Donald Trump. And, and I was thinking about things I like about him. I like the fact that he's competent in business. I think it's good that this country is represented by someone of competence, and confidence. Like, for example, I like President Eisenhower in the 50s. I like that he was a 5-star general. Not that I was around then, but I like the idea of America being represented by someone competent, even though that business was not politics, it was real estate and entertainment. I appreciate that about Donald Trump. Another thing I appreciate about Donald Trump is his direct way of speaking, and that he takes a stand on things. Whether I would agree with him or not, I like that he's direct and takes a stand. Another thing I like about Donald Trump is that he people say such mean things about him, but he's strong enough to let all those things roll off like water off a duck's back. So these are things I like about him. And when I get an insight on a substance, I always want to check it with my reality when I'm not on the substance. And I really, and I went and looked at a video of him being interviewed before he was president, and I'm saying, yeah, I like this guy. And a lot of the people in the truth community claim that Trump is part of the whole system, and anything in the media, it's just a show. They're all actors on a stage. And, and I thought about that, and, and even if it's true that all the people you see on TV are actors, reading from a script, it's still true that you can like a character in a movie or a soap opera or whatever. So anyway, anyway, the point was, I realized I like Donald Trump. And then the next insight that I got had to do with my position around politics in general. I used to be, before this journey I took, very apolitical, and I would consider myself a libertarian, not wanting to associate with one political party or another. I thought the right wing were narrow-minded people who just believed what they were brought up with, and then left wing were slightly open-minded, but the things they believed were kind of didn't have basis in reality, and I wanted nothing to do with it. And I thought that focusing on politics was focusing on things I couldn't control, and my little vote isn't going to mean as much as like what I do day to day in my work and the other things I do. And so there are reasons I kind of distanced myself from politics. But what I realized was that on my journey is that I had very distinct political views, and that those views were the views of the right-wing conservative Republican views, like a Trump supporter. I always thought that the right was more about upholding the U.S. Constitution than the left, for example. And I realized how much I respect the U.S. Constitution. Everything about it, whether it's freedom of speech or freedom to defend yourself. And I was thinking about freedom of worship, how important it is for people to have the freedom to have faith in something that's beyond the rational conscious mind. And, and there is an alternative to that, which is believing the rational conscious mind is the ultimate thing. And that's, religions like communism, whatever you want to call it, Marxism, it's based on scientism, whatever, it's based on that. And so, anyway, I appreciate the Constitution. It was written by really great people, or one person, whoever. And what I also realized, though, especially after coming down off the journey, was I couldn't really call myself a right-wing conservative. I had problems calling myself that because I never agreed with a lot of people who call themselves right-wing conservatives. Like, for example, they had this George Floyd incident where you see this black guy get murdered by a white cop, supposedly. And then right-wing people talking about it, like, for example, Candace Owen, she says that, I don't support the George Floyd because he's a criminal, when to me the truth was the whole incident was a staged event for the purpose of inciting riots so that there can be more division between people than just social distancing, division based on this superficial thing called the color of people's skin. And so anyway, I don't want to pick on anyone, and she might believe her position, but the point is, I think a lot of the people calling themselves right-wing conservatives are really promoting the mainstream narrative that there was this incident that happened when really it was a scam. But anyway, I started thinking about various things that, even if I don't call myself a right wing conservative, I started thinking about various things that Trump stands for. And I realized that I happen to agree with just about all of them. And the one thing I'm going to talk about right now is his stand on abortion, which I agree with. He was the keynote speaker at an anti abortion rally. And what I saw when I was on my journey was that, I never wanted to address the topic of abortion because it seemed like such an impossible thing to discuss. I mean, because I could put myself in the shoes of someone who's pregnant and feels like she can't take care of the kid and can hardly take care of herself, and it's an unwanted kid, and I can think of how scary that is, and how and I don't consider myself superior in any way to people who've had abortions, and I didn't want to look at it, but then there was this truth that I actually think that it is murdering an unborn baby. That's what I think. And but what I saw when I was on this journey was that abortion is really horrible. I think that it's, I had these visions of these babies in the womb, and seeing them as 20 years later as young adults, how they're unique, amazing people, and their lives are being stopped. I think that if people saw it, if it was transparent, I think that people would reconsider their view about it. And I think that it has everything to do with this so-called pandemic. I think there's a connection. It's one of these things where I get these visions of things, and I don't, I always wanted to look at things critically from a rational view. And I'll just tell you, the idea is that, just like future generations are dependent on us, we are dependent on future generations. And it's same thing with past generations. Older generations are dependent on us, we are dependent on them, and it's a cycle. And if you neglect either a past or future generation, it has consequences. There's a connection there. It's like you can't shove under the carpet, sticking old people on ventilators, letting them die without seeing their relatives. You can't shove it under the carpet. Babies being murdered, and I thought, when I was on my journey, that if Trump is standing up for vulnerable people who don't have a voice, then I'm going to stand up for Trump, and anyway, just there's a connection between abortion, child sex trafficking, a lot of other things I could mention that are really horrible, especially things having to do with this pandemic, the way people are treated by the media and manipulated by a group of people that are, that think they know better, when really they just have some, stupid idea system that they don't know it's stupid because they're stuck in an ideology. And anyway, I just wanted to say what I saw, and and that might be all I have to say. But I also have to say that we have to come together. We have to do the opposite of social distancing. We have to, really blow off this whole. I know it's hard because, with me, almost everyone in every circle of people that I connect with are brainwashed by this whole thing and buy into this wearing masks and all this other nonsense. And and we got to come together. I would say come together, support Donald Trump, support each other, um, you know, we can. I think it's something we can win. I mean, it's something. It's not. I don't think these people are that great who are putting on the pandemic. I really don't. I mean, just yeah. I mean, I think that we have more gifted people on our side, but we have to wake each other up, and we have to come together. And and so anyway, and we I think we have more on our side. I don't and but anyway, I hope I said clearly what I saw in my journey, and feel free to share and like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.